Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sean Moss with Down Payment Resource. And today we're going to talk about growing your first time homebuyer business, and in particular, some of the tools and data that we have that are made available to you in several ways, which we'll talk about, that can help you educate and tap into new and younger and wider segments of potential buyers. So we also have with us Tamra and Veronica and Melinda and Fern from our down payment resource team. They will be in the background answering questions. So please, as we go, keep this interactive. Give us your thoughts. Tell us about any DPA transactions you've done recently, or buyers that you've worked with that use the DPA. Ask any questions. So you've got a small army of our down payment resource team in the background to help you answer any of your questions. And my name is Sean Moss. And today, and I'm with Down Payment Resource as well. But today we're going to talk about the state of down payment assistance programs briefly, and the impact that they can have on your business, but also on the renters and home buyers that you serve. We're going to talk a little bit about the first time homebuyer market opportunity. We're going to specifically try to quantify what does that market opportunity look like? How big is the potential first time homebuyer segment? We're also going to talk about educating buyers about down payments, not just down payment assistance, which is a way to overcome the down payment hurdle, but misperceptions about down payment requirements themselves that fester among especially younger generations of prospective home buyers and keep them on the bench, keep them out of the purchase market. And then we'll talk about enhancing your marketing and expanding your reach, and specifically how your peers all over the country are using Down Payment Connect in order to do that, to enhance their marketing and expand their reach to new and more buyers. A little bit about us. We track and monitor all of the home buyer programs for down payment and closing cost help, tax credits, and more all over the country. There are roughly 2,300 homeownership programs from roughly 1,100 housing agencies, whether they're state, local, municipal, nonprofit, and so forth. So we bring all that technology to you through partnerships with MLSs, lenders, and other tools that we provide to you, the real estate agent and the loan officer, including a subscription option for those of you that don't have access to our tools through your MLS. So we will get into those tools here, and specifically Down Payment Connect, in a few minutes. But basically, at our core, we are here to help you, our professional partners, connect home buyers to the down payment help that they need, to put it simply. Around the country, there are, like we said, 2,300 some down payment or other home buyer programs. The vast majority of those are down payment or closing cost assistance at closing. Now, those are comprised of a number of different kinds of programs and repayment terms and features. We actually have a separate webinar dedicated to that topic and breaking down the most common types of homebuyer assistance. But it is important to point out that many of these programs are either deferred and or forgivable. Deferred meaning payments are delayed for some time, forgivable meaning that the loan balance of the down payment assistance is forgiven over time, essentially becoming a grant at some point in the future. We also track affordable first mortgages from housing finance agencies, typically state and local housing finance agencies. We track mortgage credit certificates, which are tax credits, and a smattering of other types of homebuyer assistance programs that are perhaps less prevalent and less common, but still of value when and where they exist. Now, of the 2,300 some programs across the country, we do want to be clear, there's really not a market in the country that isn't covered by some sort of down payment help or homebuyer assistance program. In large part, that's because every state has at least one state housing finance agency whose programs are available statewide. And then you have many city or county or nonprofit local entities who also make available down payment assistance, closing cost help, and so forth in their local market. So there are programs all over the country. This map here shows you which states have the most programs, but every state has a few dozen or many more options than that. Now, as far as the state of down payment assistance programs, I mentioned a moment ago, every state has a state housing finance agency. We have heard a lot this year, still this late in the year, about down payment assistance programs potentially going away. There's been some confusion about whether or not they're still available. So let me clarify. Every state housing finance agency has remained open and accepting reservations for the entire year. And in fact, many, if not most, state housing finance agencies have locked and closed and funded record volumes this year, the highest volumes they have ever done in their history. So yes, there's an inventory shortage. Yes, we have low rates. Yes, the market's moving fast. But yes, DPAs are still available. State and local, city, county, and nonprofit programs are all still widely available. The market has been fluid throughout parts of the year. There have been some changes in down payment assistance products and pricing options. But because homebuyer education is largely being done online, and because housing finance agencies have reacted swiftly to policy changes from DC, so Fannie, Freddie, HUD, and so forth, only about 3% of down payment assistance programs had at some point in this year paused their operation. So by and large, down payment assistance is still available. In fact, at roughly the same numbers we would have expected to see in any normal year in any normal market. So down payment assistance has not gone away. It is not going away. And in fact, many down payment assistance providers all over the country have been experiencing record volume, and that is all purchase volume. These programs are not for refinances. So those record volumes, to the tune of tens, if not hundreds of billions with a B dollars from state housing finance agencies, those increases are purchase volume increases. That is not tied to refinance because that's by and large not what they do. All right, so point being, down payment assistance programs are still available. They're not going away. We'll talk about who to partner with to make sure that you're getting current, up-to-date, accurate information about what is available and how these programs work. Now, let's talk for a moment about renters and the first-time homebuyer market opportunity. We hear a lot about, and we've been talking more at Down Payment Resource this year about the renter mindset and how that's morphed a lot this year. There's an evolving, there's always the underlying, I want to save for a home. I want to buy a home. I want to stop renting, especially among younger generations. We would expect that. More and more this year, we've experienced or heard or read and even seen data suggesting that many more consumers are leveraging credit to get through this year because of the challenges this year. Many may be saving more money because they're working remotely. They're saving on some of the things they might have more freely spent on, if not for quarantining and social distancing and whatnot. So there are a lot of things going on there, but we also we'll go back to a couple of things from earlier this year or in the last couple of years. We did a study with the Urban Institute in 2018, and part of that study was some data-driven exercises looking at kind of forecasting market opportunities, but part of it was surveying potential home buyers. And I want to share three questions and the answers to those questions from that survey. These were surveys of potential buyers, typically under 40, currently renting, mortgage ready. When asked what the largest or primary barrier to home ownership was, 68% of those potential home buyers cited the down payment as their biggest barrier to home ownership. That probably doesn't surprise many of you because, quite frankly, we've been hearing that for years. That down payment has increasingly become more of a barrier to home ownership as prices outpace income increases and whatnot. Another question that was asked of potential home buyers, which starts to uncover some misperceptions, is how much they thought they needed as a down payment. And it kind of addresses the first question too. If you think the down payment is the barrier, you have to wonder how much do they think they need as a down payment to buy a home, to become a homeowner. Well, 65%, almost 2/3 of potential home buyers thought that they needed 15 or 20% down just to buy a home, to consider home ownership, right? essentially to react to your marketing and to think that they could possibly buy a home. That's an absurd number. Well, there's two absurd numbers there. The fact that 2/3 of potential home buyers think that they need 15% or more, 20% down, that's absurd. But also, it's absurd that you have to have 15 or 20% down to buy a home. Sure, there are advantages if you have 20% down. Obviously, no MI. That's the primary benefit, right? Uh, but that totally discounts USDA for eligible properties, VA for eligible veterans, and then FHA, 3.5% down, conventional, 3% down, 5% down options. It discounts all of that. But the problem is not that those products aren't out there, that they don't exist. Obviously, they do. We know that. Potential home buyers clearly don't know that, and that's the biggest issue. To that point, one of the other questions asked in this survey was, how familiar are you with low down payment programs? And to be clear, that was not a question about down payment assistance. That question was about, how familiar are you with low down payment programs like FHA, like conventional options I just mentioned, that don't require 20% down. 3/4 of the potential home buyers surveyed when asked that question said that they had little or no familiarity with low down payment mortgage options, not to mention down payment assistance, right? That's staggering. So, all of this points to, um, there's an enormous and critical lack of knowledge about mortgage basics and down payment basics, and also about these down payment assistance programs. Now, that said, let's go back to January of this year when clever.com put out their 2020 home buyer survey. They asked potential buyers where they planned to get their down payment from. 31% of potential home buyers, especially among millennials, said that they plan to use first-time homebuyer assistance programs or down payment assistance programs. And that was the second most common answer, behind only and the expected saving money for their down payment, right? We've heard a lot from housing finance agencies this year that the increase in home values, listing prices for properties has gone up so much and so fast this year, and income clearly hasn't, right? Or in many cases, most cases, has not. So if income is flat and we see that kind of appreciation gain in property prices, we've seen a lot of HFAs and heard a lot of them say, we're using our programs to help people that were probably already good to go at the beginning of this year. And then, income falls flat, maybe job and income instability, and purchase prices keep going up. So now they're using down payment assistance because they're trying to cover simply the appreciation just from this year. Now, that's going to differ market by market, right? Market dynamics in your market are different from your peers elsewhere. But nonetheless, the point of this survey here was to point out that even at the beginning of this year, consumer awareness of down payment assistance programs seemed to be on the rise. And we like to point out, this is probably a preferred path over getting loans from a family member, relying on additional sources of income, secondary like bonus, overtime, things like that. And most importantly, tapping into retirement funds. That's not an optimal way of getting a down payment on your house, especially because of some of the penalties for doing that. Anyway, we don't want to get into that right now any further than we have. We want to answer the question, how can you serve buyers? We want to help you be a trusted advisor and provide information to prospective buyers that will help them prepare for the future. And we've been saying this for many months now, but when we are past this COVID pandemic, buyers are going to want to work with people and with companies or brands who are there to help them, to serve them, to educate them, to provide them unique and valuable information that compelled them to home ownership, even during a time of crisis. And if we serve them in that manner, they will tell their peers. Now, what are home buyers looking for guidance on? So there are misperceptions. We've uncovered that. There are a lot of, there are tens of millions, literally tens of millions of mortgage ready millennials right now that just don't know they're ready to buy a home. So what is it that they're looking for guidance on? Why are they on the bench? They need help navigating the home buying process. That has gotten even more complicated this year than it normally is. Virtual showings, e-closings, there are things that have really ramped up quickly this year that were not the norm per se. They need help getting pre-approved for a home loan. So if you're a real estate agent, who are you partnered with? Which lenders, loan officers are you partnered with? And do you have a good process for pre-approving first-time home buyers, for opening up the dialogue about and exploring down payment assistance programs? They need help comparing and understanding mortgage options, what the down payment requirements are, but also what the solutions are to overcome those down payment obstacles when they exist. Cash to close should not necessarily be a reason not to buy a home. If your income and credit qualified, there are solutions out there. So cash to close should not be an obstacle in and of itself. They need help completing their homebuyer education courses. As many of you know, if you do uh, uh, help clients that use down payment assistance programs, or if you're a loan officer and you participate in and provide down payment assistance programs, many of them require the completion of a homebuyer education course by the buyer and sometimes other applicants. They need help figuring out when to get that done as soon as possible, right? They need to know where to get that done. Um, they also need help covering their down payment and closing costs. Many of these programs can cover closing costs as well. If you are a real estate agent, consider this. Using a down payment assistance program, let's say your client has the down payment money and maybe a little left over for their emergency fund. They still have to cover closing costs. If you can use a down payment and closing cost assistance program and you don't have to ask the seller to cover those costs, that's a competitive advantage, especially in a market like this where we're hearing from the real estate audience, bidding wars, bidding wars, bidding wars, competitive, competitive, competitive. Well, if you're not asking the seller to cover closing costs and that's a net gain for them versus other competing bids, that's a competitive advantage for you and your client. They also need help navigating a competitive market with limited inventory. So, all that said, I want to show you, and we want to start digging into Down Payment Connect and enhancing your marketing, expanding your reach, and educating prospective buyers about the solutions that are out there for the down payment obstacle. So, take a look on the screen here. If you are a member of one of these MLS partners of ours, you have Down Payment Connect and actually a full suite of down payment resource tools for free as part of your membership with that MLS. We'll come back to this. We'll show this list again later, but just remember as we go, if you're a member of one of these MLSs, you already have Down Payment Connect, which is a specific tool that we provide. And we're going to dive into that in terms of how to educate buyers about these programs. Now, if you are a member of the California Association of Realtors, you can also search for down payment assistance programs or allow your clients to search for them at finddownpayment.car.org. They can get a little more detail about programs in California. And if you're a CAR member, you can go to downpayment.car.org and you can log in and get some marketing materials, some tutorial videos, and some co-branded materials to help you broadcast down payment solutions and down payment assistance programs in California. Now, if you are not a member of one of those MLSs, you can subscribe to Down Payment Connect at downpaymentresource.com/DPC, as in Down Payment Connect. So we're going to dive in here. So essentially the question is, how can we help you connect home buyers to the down payment help they need, but also to you as their guide and their counsel in this process? So the first thing is, if you're a member of one of our MLSs, log into your MLS dashboard and find the down payment resource button somewhere on that dashboard. And again, that's the list of MLSs I showed you a moment ago. So you can log in there, click down payment resource. That will take you to our DPR dashboard. From there, you'll see your link at the top, and then you can take that link. That's your Down Payment Connect landing page. So it's the link that you want to give to consumers, but it allows them to search for down payment programs through you, learn a little bit more about what's out there, and connect with you to engage in that conversation and start that dialogue. And then you can see we also have additional marketing resources here to help you as well. That includes social media images, graphics, flyers. I'm going to actually show you that live here in a moment, but we have all kinds of extra content to help you get started with Down Payment Connect. And in fact, if you're a member of one of our MLSs, or if you already subscribe to Down Payment Connect, then we would encourage you to grab your Down Payment Connect URL and maybe just post it on Facebook with a couple of words. Um, Down payment help is out there. Click here to find help. Try that. See if you don't get a response before this webinar is even over. So I'll show you the Down Payment Connect consumer experience here in a moment. But we also have a group of now about 7,000, maybe even more than 7,000 down payment insiders, which are real estate agents, mostly real estate agents around the country that are sharing best practices and challenges and marketing tactics and successes they've had with marketing campaigns and ad campaigns all around down payment assistance programs and first-time home buyers. So they are your peers working in this domain, working with first-time home buyers, trying to educate and uncover new opportunities for business growth, but also for new buyers. And they're sharing all of the things that they're learning. So it's a great forum for sharing ideas, for learning, whether you want to listen in or get active with this group, and participate in the dialogue. There's a lot of opportunity here to learn from your peers about what's being done, what's successful, what's not successful, challenges, solutions, and so forth. So we encourage you to join the Down Payment Insiders. Now, I want to briefly get into, let's see, hang on just a second here. All right, so we want to get into expanding your marketing. So here's a couple of examples of what agents are doing, and we're going to dive into how they're actually doing it. We're going to show you visuals here on live websites. But Amber on the top there, she's working with her peers who are all first-time home buyers, don't have a lot of money saved for the down payment. Other agents may not give them the attention or the education they need, so she steps in, clarifies that you don't need 20% down, shows them the path to down payment solutions, and has built her business doing exactly that. Raul at the bottom here is a veteran himself and teaches veterans how to buy homes. He does a lot. He's got a foundation that helps veterans with homebuyer education, financial education, and getting them actually into home ownership. But part of it is helping them understand the basics of down payment requirements, especially as a veteran, and understanding, closing cost implications and things like that. So that's just a kind of big picture look at what some agents are doing and the philosophy that some agents have brought to their business about down payment requirements and serving, in many cases, underserved communities, first-time homebuyers, veterans. So what we want to do is look at how are your peers, your real estate agent peers all over the country, leveraging down payment assistance information, as well as our Down Payment Connect tool in order to educate and attract new buyers. So let's dive in. I want to show you the Down Payment Connect experience first. So this is the landing page. When you go get your Down Payment Connect landing page, this is where the consumer starts. And so we'll tell them, hey, programs may be out there for help. Plug in a city or an address. We'll tell you how many programs may be out there. They can enter purchase price, household size, household income, military history. They can enter their profession. There are some professions for which there may be unique opportunities. And then they can go on to learn how many programs and how many dollars they might get based on what they provided, what information they provided, and where they were looking, and fill out this contact form. And that's going to go back to you and only you. So you're not buying leads, you're not buying leads. And there's no lead carousel here. Everything is with Down Payment Connect, everything is exclusive to you. It's a lead gen tool to supplement your marketing and to supplement your lead generation efforts, and enable the consumer to connect directly to you around the topic of down payment assistance, and continue that dialogue with you. And so they don't actually even see the program information as they go. This would be the thank you message they get after they went through a search, they reached out to you. Then we would email you the lead, and we would also email the consumer a confirmation of their search. This is what that looks like for the consumer. They just learn the program name. There are no links to anybody except you and your contact information. And then your lead shows them everything they entered into the form. Where were they looking to buy a home? What was the price that they entered? How many programs did they find? And you would have links in your Down Payment Connect lead to the specifics of each program that they found in their results. So you've got a little more detail if you need to continue that conversation, discuss it with a loan officer, call your client and discuss a particular program and so forth. So here's what those program details look like, links to the program providers, guidelines, and so forth. Now, what I really want to get into is the crux of the webinar today, which is how are your peers doing this around the country? Here's an agent in Atlanta. He is, in fact, bear with me for just a moment, and I'm going to pull up a couple live examples here. Hang on. Okay, sorry. I hope some of you can understand. I just had to log my kid into Zoom. Okay, so live examples. This is Brian. He's in Atlanta, and he is on his home page, right below his bio. This is, you don't have to navigate to this. This is just on his home page. He's got a little information about himself, and then right under that, the next thing he introduces is down payment assistance. There are programs out there, 2 or 3 sentences, click here, get started, and they're off finding down payment help, right? Now, another agent in Atlanta, she's chosen to integrate that down payment assistance search form into her website. So she's used an iframe here. She's gotten her Down Payment Connect URL, and she built a page for down payment assistance on her website. Instead of writing out a bunch of copy, she just used an iframe and implemented that search experience right there on the page on her site. Now, here's an example with Elite Dreams. Veronica has integrated sort of a widget here that she uses in mobile campaigns. And so when she's doing stuff on social media, for example, you can kind of see the widgets on this page, and they stack in a mobile experience, so that when she's running social media campaigns, they get a nice seamless integrated down payment search experience. They, again, as with the previous example, never leave her page. So the whole search is done right here instead of another browser tab or another browser window on your mobile. Now, here's an example. This looks like just our form, right? But it's actually embedded into a page. And they have created a navigation item on their website called Down Payment Assistance. So you might have things like property search, buyer resources, seller resources, etc. What they've done here with Premier Homes is they've added one more option in the site navigation called Down Payment Assistance. With that, it's clear to the visitor as soon as they hit this website, no matter what page they land on, that down payment assistance is available, or that the topic can be explored, right? Then they come here, they engage in their search, they do their thing, and they connect back to Premier Homes, having found out that there are down payment assistance programs out there that could help them become owners sooner than they thought. So those are a few website examples, and I'll show you a couple of those sites live here in a moment so we can actually navigate and see them. But think about email. So Down Payment Connect, and the idea of bringing down payment assistance information is not limited to just your website. Optimize your emails. In this example, this loan officer has added a down payment assistance graphic at the bottom of his email signature, so that every email he sends out includes the fact that down payment money is available, and that is a link to his Down Payment Connect page, so that everyone who receives an email from him, either directly or by way of a forward or a share, they can see that there's down payment help out there. That's the education part, right? And then the connection part is they can click that. They can find programs where they want to buy a home. And so somebody might get an email from Sal in this example and forward that on because they know somebody else that's looking for a home right now, and say, hey, I did business with Sal in the past. Great guy. By the way, looks like there are down payment programs out there. Why don't you check it out? So in that way, your email marketing can expand your reach by including down payment assistance information. Blogs. If you've got a blog, maybe just let us know in the chat. Just give us a thumbs up or even the URL. We'd like to check out your blog and see what kind of content you're putting out there. But if you are a blog author or if you host a blog, you know that you're always looking for content, right? And sometimes it's easy because you get 10 great ideas in 1 week. Sometimes it takes a week or two to come up with a good one and get it all published and whatnot. But here's an example of a blog post. And the biggest point I want to make here is look at the date. Now, this is, it's probably not, may not be on their blog anymore, but this blog post generated leads for this agency in a high cost market, as you can clearly see, for years, 3 or 4 years after this blog post was originally written. And it had been reposted once or twice over time and updated. But this blog generated leads for 3 or 4 years at least because the topic was relevant. It's always timely. And it was proof in a high cost market even that down payment help is available. And there was only one link to the Down Payment Connect tool, and it's in the second paragraph. It's just a text link, no graphics or anything. But it was compelling enough that for several years, it continued to drive leads as more new home buyers hit the market or got to the point where they thought they were ready to purchase. And that's kind of the point with the topic or the idea of down payment assistance and with our Down Payment Connect tool is how soon can we help make someone realize that they are ready for home ownership, that they are closer than they thought, and that it's maybe now time to execute on the idea. Video. Now, and this is really going to get into even more content. I'll show you this page live as well here in a few minutes. This agency used video. They created and produced their own video here. They scripted it. They produced the video and recorded it and whatnot, edited it. But they also added a lot of content about down payment assistance programs. And throughout this page, which is totally dedicated to down payment assistance on their website, they also added links to their Down Payment Connect tool. So it's a great lead generator. It's a great page. We've seen agents all over the country swipe and adapt from this team in Richmond because it was a great idea. It was actually written up in Inman News at one point as a great way to reach and educate first-time home buyers. I'm going to show you this live in a few minutes too. Now, here's sort of a different approach. And what we're trying to do here is show you what your peers are doing, not just on Facebook, not just in their email, not just on their website, but across the spectrum of marketing, what they're doing. Here's a checklist. Now, this can be a digital checklist or, if and when we're doing more face-to-face business, not if, but when we are back face-to-face, back to normal, whatever that might look like. What kind of flyers you have? Do you have a checklist, like an intake document or an onboarding, handout, or what is it that you give new clients? What are the 1 or 2 or 3 things you give new clients when they first come in the door? So this example is from a broker in Austin, Texas. One of the first things that he hands out when he's onboarding new clients is this step 1, 2, 3 checklist. What are the couple things you need to do first? You need to find out what you can afford. Then you need to speak with a loan officer and get pre-qualified. And then we'll start looking for a home, right? So step 1 isn't go find the home of your dreams. Step 1 is let's do the math and figure out what you can afford. Step 2 is let's get you pre-qualified and get that letter in hand from a loan officer. And then we'll go find a home within your budget that meets your needs. And as part of step 1, figuring out what you can afford involves exploring down payment assistance programs. So as part of his onboarding process, this broker includes the notion of searching for down payment help, in addition to calculating what you think you can afford and preparing to talk to a loan officer. So Facebook, let me talk about this for a moment. We saw Raul earlier, actually, but one of the things that he's done for kind of an onboarding and then it turns into a drip campaign exercise is he took 10 of the most common questions he was getting when dealing, especially with newer buyers, and he just answered all of them in short videos and turned it into a drip campaign. So basically like each week, a new question answer video would come out. One of those was about the best approach for looking for down payment and closing cost help, or covering the down payment obstacle. So he asked the question, he answered the question, he filmed the video, and that became part of his drip campaign, essentially integrating down payment assistance and overcoming the down payment obstacle into this top 10 homebuyer questions campaign. So that's one example of how to use video and also how to leverage social media. Here's another idea. Now, this was on social media, but the idea translates across other platforms as well: email, face to face, other social platforms, and so forth. Tell your success stories. So I mentioned early on in this webinar, if you've worked with a home buyer recently that used the down payment assistance program, tell that story. Tell that story to your future customers. Tell that story to your peer network, to your loan officer partners. Make sure that people that are getting your marketing also know the kinds of transactions that you're capable of. And if you're working with first-time home buyers and securing down payment assistance opportunities and programs for them, maybe you don't have permission or don't want to use their actual names or pictures. If you can, that's great, because that makes it even more personal and humanizes the experience even more, or the story even more. But even if you can't, hey, I just worked with a client, married couple, baby on the way, got into their first home and got them, $16,000 in down payment help, seller covered closing costs, closed in 32 days, whatever, right? I'm just making up all those numbers, but whatever your story is, tell that story to your audience, whatever audiences you have. In this example, that story from this team in the Twin Cities is being told through social media to their audience on social media. Hey, we got they've got the name in here, they've got pictures, and we cut that off, but for this webinar. But they called out the agents that did this. They got them $12,000 through a first-time homebuyer program, and let all their peers know that. That's a great way to tell not just your story, but to tell your clients that it is possible, that now is the time, that down payment isn't the obstacle they think that it is. Video. We've looked at a couple examples of video, but I want to drive home a couple of points here. Two things. Look at the topic of the main one on the screen: how to find a lender that offers down payment assistance. This is a team. It's kind of a two-man team that's built up a much bigger team of new to the industry agents, and they've done it on down payment assistance and first-time home buyers. One of their primary goals is to connect buyers to loan officers that they partner with, that they know and trust, that they've worked with and built relationships with, that offer and perform well with down payment assistance programs. Also, look at the timestamps here. These are 1 minute. These videos are 1 minute plus or minus a few seconds, all of them, right? They've got this whole video series, and look at where they are. One is the big one on the screen is in a kitchen, right? One of these is in the hallway next to an office. One of these is in a corner of a brick room. The whole point is, get the story out, get your personality out, get the answer to a simple question, get a simple answer to a complicated question. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. How do I find a lender that offers down payment assistance? Well, as a consumer, you might be thinking, I don't know, what's down payment assistance? What's a lender? But the point is, maybe that feels like a complicated question for a first-time home buyer. The answer is simple, and they say it in 1 minute, and they broadcast it in a video. So leverage that on any platform where video makes sense. On your website, if you have email tools that allow you to email video out, Facebook, wherever. Let's see, how are we on time here? We got a little time. I want to leave time for questions here too. So a couple more examples of how down payment assistance is woven into marketing to buyers, presumably first-time home buyers. But remember, not every DPA is just for first-time home buyers. Many of them don't have a first-time home buyer requirement. Nonetheless, this is in Seattle. They actually have combined a couple of things we've seen here, and I'll show you this one live as well. They've combined sort of a long educational play, a lot of content about down payment assistance programs, with the idea of embedding that down payment search experience into their website. So I'll show you that one live here in a few minutes. This is unique. This is a realtor in Indianapolis. She created a sort of a landing page or a splash page for the consumer to fill out before she let them use Down Payment Connect. So the idea here was she's she's got the name and email of anybody who wants to search for down payment programs, whether or not they complete that search. And then they go on and complete their search, and she'll get another lead out the back end if they complete the down payment search from us. This is the same realtor. She also used Down Payment Connect in Facebook ads and has had great success with her ad campaigns. That's a paid ad campaign. Not to suggest that you have to do paid ad campaigns to see success. That's just one thing that she did to supplement her marketing efforts and found success with it. I'll point you to her call to action here. It's 2 sentences. Many first-time homebuyers qualify for down payment money. See if you qualify, and let's get shopping for your new home. That's it. We don't have to write an ebook. We don't have to write an essay. That's 2 sentences and a link that says down payment is available. Down payment money is available. That's it. And it works really well for her. She's had great success with her lead campaigns or ad campaigns using Down Payment Connect to educate buyers and educate prospective buyers. So what about Instagram? We can't do links, right? So you got some limitations, but if you're on Instagram, if you got an audience, here's an example of using the topic of down payment assistance to drive eyeballs, to drive interest, and to drive traffic. And then you can also post sort of calls to action, use the right hashtags. We've got graphics you can use on Instagram to try to generate buzz. And you can also put your Down Payment Connect link in your Instagram bio. Now, I'm not an Instagram expert, but tools like Linktree or others allow you to integrate links into your Instagram bio, and that's a way to get people into Down Payment Connect as well. Like I said, we have plenty of images, marketing resources. I'll show you more of that in just a moment. But we provide a lot for you to get started, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start with nothing or start from scratch. You've got all kinds of resources available from us through Down Payment Connect to take this content, to take this idea of down payment help out to your audience and engage with them, generate leads, and start conversations. So I'm going to come back to that notion about starting conversations in a moment. I said I would show you some things live here. So let me actually first show you. Sorry, I didn't have this one pulled up. I'm going to show you the marketing resources. I kept saying we have graphics, libraries, and so forth. A lot of images. We've got customizable flyers for you, and we've got video tutorials. So let me just kind of show you quickly some of this stuff. We've got some basic graphics. You've seen bits and pieces of these as we've gone. There's an example of an email signature. It can be that simple, right? It could be one of these horizontal graphics maybe, and then link it to your Down Payment Connect page. We have formatted images for various social media platforms based on certain graphic requirements. So Facebook formatted graphics, those with reduced text for Facebook ads. Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. You've got a lot of creative work here on the Instagram section. All of these graphics are made available to you so that you don't have to, again, go create the graphics, create the messages. You can always leverage our blog, cite our blog and use content from there. We have customizable flyers. We have English and Spanish language flyers. These are customizable. The bottom right of every flyer, whichever graphic you like best, allows you to edit and enter your contact information, your logo, your license number, your Down Payment Connect URL, all kinds of things. They can be used in email, social, print, face-to-face. And then we've got video tutorials. And I want to point you to one last thing here before we kind of wrap this up. Down Payment Connect for social media. We partnered with MGIC, one of our partners, and their social media leadership, and put together it's about 1 hour. But this social media training or module walks through how to leverage, how to optimize Down Payment Connect on various social media platforms. It's worth it if you're going to get into social media marketing in general, but even specifically with Down Payment Connect, it's a great deeper dive into social media marketing, especially with Down Payment Connect. Now, let's look at a few of those examples live, and then we'll start taking questions here. So the first example of your peers and how they're using Down Payment Connect was Brian in Georgia. Scroll down from his home page, you've got his bio, and then down payment assistance. Just a couple of sentences. The graphic on the left is a link to Down Payment Connect. He's got a call to action on the right. Both of them, and I'll click this real quick, takes me right to my search experience. Okay, we looked at this in slides, but here it is live. This is Brian's Down Payment Connect page. I don't have an address in mind, so I'm just going to look in a city that I know I want to buy in, and I can enter my price. I can enter my household size, household income. I can tell you if maybe I currently own a home. There are still down payment assistance programs available. Maybe I owned, but it was more than 3 years ago. Well, I'm a first-time home buyer then, by definition, according to the 3-year rule that defines first-time home buyer for all these programs. And then I go on and get my details, fill out the form, and I'm off and connected to Brian, right? So that was the first example we looked at. We also looked at Susan, who took that same experience and embedded it into her website. So rather than the consumer clicking on something and moving on to another browser tab, the consumer here just enters their information right in the search form, and they never leave Susan's page. So they can enter, let's say they know kind of where they want to live but don't have a property. They can enter all this right here on Susan's page, fill out the contact form, click get details. They're often connected to Susan. Susan calls, dialogue started, moving them toward home ownership. Richmond, I showed you this one. This is the one that was written up in Inman. They produced their own video. They put a lot of content together. So this whole page is dedicated to down payment assistance. They've got a great video that starts out the page, and then they've got all this content, kind of an overview. There's a big graphic here. That's a link to Down Payment Connect. Well, who qualifies for down payment assistance? They get into that. There's a text link to Down Payment Connect. They're going to bury these opportunities in here as we go. What are the criteria? Family finances, first-time home buyer status, your profession. How does that impact your eligibility? There's another graphic that is, again, a link to Down Payment Connect. So many opportunities here to hook the consumer and get them into Down Payment Connect, looking for down payment assistance, thinking more seriously about home ownership now that they know that there's help out there. And they wrap it up with the impact of sales price, geography, and then the bottom line. So we like that because it's a very educational play. Gives the opportunity for the consumer to self-educate, as does this example from Seattle. And they have a lot of content here. What are the criteria for down payment assistance? What that could be the key. So there's a lot of educational content here. And then they have also framed the search experience into an iframe on their website, and the consumer never leaves their site. I'm still on their website, right? And I can go back to where I started. I can go to search for properties and whatnot. But when I'm done, I'm going to connect with Gerhard, and I did all that from their down payment assistance page. The last thing I'll show you here is another Facebook example we didn't see yet. This gentleman has incorporated down payment assistance into his first-time home buyer Facebook page. It's all dedicated to first-time home buyers, the issues they face, the opportunities that they have, the solutions and the challenges that they're dealing with. So he lets them set appointments. He talks a lot about down payment assistance. He's got, of course, posts and services. He lists down payment assistance using his Down Payment Connect tool, and lets people link directly to that tool from his Facebook page. So another simple but creative use for Down Payment Connect, and another simple but creative way to inject the idea of down payment assistance into your marketing. So with that, let's give you some final thoughts and takeaways here. So this is all about starting more conversations, right? Put this in your email signature. Market eligible properties with program information, even if you're listing the property. The fact that a property is eligible for down payment assistance programs can expand your pool of offers and expand your interested and eligible audience. Facebook ad campaigns, we talked about using Down Payment Connect there. Put it in your Instagram profile. You'll have to use one of the tools like Linktree to do that. Add educational content to your website. Great way to let especially younger up and coming first time home buyers to self-educate. First time home buyer section on your website. That's a great idea too. Video, we looked at several examples. Don't be shy with video, but don't let it be too complicated either. It doesn't have to be. Host virtual homebuyer events. We didn't talk much about that. I'll bring that up again in just a moment when I show you who your partners are here. And drip marketing. There's a lot to learn about down payment programs, but there's a lot of interest in home ownership among first-time home buyers. So maybe you break some of this out and drip it to your prospects over time. Lastly, leveraging your experts. Look for participating lenders or call on those lenders that you work with now that understand these programs, that do them well, that can help you set expectations about timelines, about homebuyer education classes, contract implications, and so forth. And make sure you have those lender partnerships in place. That's one of your primary supporting partners. Host virtual events. I just mentioned this a moment ago. Call your city or county down payment assistance provider. I bet they're trying to promote their program. That's what we do, right? We at Down Payment Resource are promoting their programs to the real estate and finance industries and consumers as well. Talk to them, talk to your state housing finance agency and see if they're interested in hosting or co-hosting some sort of virtual first-time homebuyer event or seminar to try to educate consumers and get them interested in home ownership. These are great ways to build a purchase pipeline. Loan officers, listen in. If you're looking for a purchase pipeline, this is what realtors are doing, and they're going to be looking for you. But you're also probably looking at building a purchase pipeline too, because refis will dry up at some point. Highlight information about local programs or down payment programs in your market in your content. So be specific. Like we said earlier, be specific about success stories. Clients you've helped recently or in the recent past that use the DPA. Also be specific about the benefits of I don't know, pick one program, right? Pick one popular down payment program in your market and say to people, hey, you can get $10,000. It's a 3-year deferred forgivable loan, and you can buy up to $470,000 home with it. I made that up, but it could be whatever program. There's thousands of them around the country. Whatever's in your market that's most popular or that your lender partners like or prefer, talk about the specifics of that program so people know, oh, there's down payment assistance. Well, that's good. But specifically, you can get this much money as a grant for this purpose up to this amount. Simple message, right? And then if you ever get the chance, it is worth sitting in on a homebuyer education course, maybe even with one of your clients. What a cool way to engage. But sit in and listen to the content of the homebuyer education class itself and hear the message broadcast by the educators and watch your client take it in and bring that to your marketing, bring that message to your marketing. So everything you saw today, at least with Down Payment Connect, and then there's more, but everything you saw today, if you are a member of one of these MLS partners of ours, you already have Down Payment Connect. Just log into your MLS dashboard, click the Down Payment Resource link, and Down Payment Connect is waiting for you. The URL, the lead gen page, all the marketing resources. If you are not a member of one of these MLSs, you can go to downpaymentresource.com/DPC and you can subscribe to one of two versions of Down Payment Connect. You can go there and see all the features. I won't get into them in too much detail here, but we do support you. If you're not a member of one of our MLS partners, we do make this opportunity available. We would love to help you out and get the word out about DPAs. So we'll wrap it up with that. We'll take questions here. If you have further questions about Down Payment Connect, again, go to downpaymentresource.com/DPC. If you have other questions for us at Down Payment Resource, reach out to us at info@downpaymentresource.com. And we put a link up here to our reports page as well. I cited a few studies and some other things that we've done research on. A lot of those are listed on that reports page, or you can access some of that data there. So Fern, Mel, Veronica, Tamara, Can we open up Q&A here? Any trends in the chat? Anything we need to address? Anything being asked consistently?
Yes, Sean, thanks a lot. This is a great group attending the webinar today. We have some wonderful questions here that we would like to answer live. And so I'll just start with the first question here from Ken. So his question is, will a person typically, or should they, apply for a DPA before they connect with the lender for pre-approval?
That's an interesting question. The way that it works, the way that the application works really does vary by program provider. I would say this, it never hurts to do your own work up front as a consumer. But if you've got a client that's warming up to the idea, they're finally coming around, if you will, there's no reason to wait. There's no reason to wait for either. Go ahead and talk to the down payment assistance provider. But quite frankly, the loan officer should help in that process too, and sometimes has to submit the application on your behalf. So I don't know that one has to go before the other, just sort of, big picture conceptually. Technically, it's going to depend on the program. Sometimes you have to apply for the DPA before you sign a contract on the property, for sure. Typically, you probably just want to do both of those in conjunction with each other, with the loan officer involved, and make sure that it's a loan officer that supports those programs.
Great, thank you, Sean. So there's another question from Samantha here. Do we help them with the DPAs or with the lender? And I think you've sort of answered that question.
Well, yeah, let me add to that,
your last response.
Yeah, so a couple things. So Samantha, obviously you're a real estate agent or realtor. I would say this. Here's how you can help with down payment assistance programs. We know that just about everybody who buys a home starts their home search online. We also know that many home buyers, or people who ultimately become home buyers, started by reaching out to a realtor, because the first thought is property, not mortgage, right? So that's the biggest way you can help, is to bring it up, talk about it. They're going to come to you before they come to a loan officer. Hopefully you've got loan officers lined up that you partner with, that you trust to process and close and fund these transactions in a timely manner and error-free. But the biggest way that you as a realtor can help is to educate that client. As soon as you get their contact information, start letting them know that they don't need 20% down, and that there is help out there for the down payment. I mean, just combating those two misperceptions could probably go so far if we all thought like that through our entire contact databases or lists or whatnot. Other than that, I'll also add, make sure they get the homebuyer education course done as soon as they know which down payment assistance program they're going to go with. Or maybe if they don't yet, but there's one course that would cover kind of several different down payment assistance options. Don't let that be, don't turn that into a delay, because that's one of the things we hear all the time that creates delays down the road is, all right, we got pre-approved, we figured out our down payment program, we went through underwriting and all this, and then oops, we forgot to take the homebuyer education class. Now we have to delay closing. So those are two ways you can help, Samantha. Hope that helps. What else, Fern, Mel?
Let's see here. So I've seen this question come up a few times, and that is related to a script. And that's something that I sort of took note of. So a couple of agents are asking if we have a script that we could provide when they're reaching out to their prospects regarding down payment assistance programs.
So in a sense, we have, so I showed you flyers earlier. You could almost use that as a script. We give you access to the program details through Down Payment Connect. Every time you get a lead, you get links to the program details about each program that new lead found in their search for down payment help. So when you open that up and you're looking at a flyer for a specific program published by the program provider themselves, that in a sense is a script. oh, hey, you can get, looks like you can get up to 4% of the purchase price. It's deferred after, forgiven after 5 years. Um, yeah, it kind of depends on the extent to which you want to learn down payment assistance programs. And I would say too, and if there's a lender, a loan officer here that wants to chime in, um, leverage your loan officer. That script may come from them because it depends on the program that you're talking about to some extent. But high level, I would just say a basic script is, hey, there are plenty of down payment programs out there. I can help connect you to them. Do a search. Let's get you started and let's explore what your opportunities really are. And let's see how close you actually are to home ownership. And it could just be that. And then you got to leverage your loan officer because they're going to get into the details. They're going to get into the weeds of a specific DPA program with that client.
Great. And this actually kind of leads into this next question, Sean, here, which is, uh, once the buyer obtains all of the programs they're eligible for, how do I help them to narrow and or select the one that is good for them? So they have some buyers that are kind of confused about the next step.
Yeah. So was that from a real estate agent?
I believe that was an agent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where I think we're at the boundary between the role of the realtor and the role of the loan officer. The loan officer is going to dig in, look at credit, look at qualifying income, um, look at their current asset situation and cash to close capacity. But they're also going to measure that up against the qualifying requirements for potentially several different down payment assistance options, and they're going to have to help that client decide which program is best for them based on what bubbles up in that process. So there's not one answer other than I think if you're at that point, um, you know if you're doing a deeper review with your client, then maybe you can kind of hone in on what's best based on how much cash do they have, what's their FICO versus the requirements for certain programs. But I think honestly, you're kind of getting into loan officer territory there, and I would rely on them to perform that deeper dive.
Hey, Sean,
Yeah,
we've got a couple of questions here about home buyer education. And just want to point out that depending on who the program provider is, each DPA program provider, they have their own list of approved homebuyer education centers or where they can take it. Some of them are online. Most of them are online now because of COVID, but the program provider will be the one who tells you which one is approved for that program. However, there are many where the home buyer can take that education for free beforehand. But when you get into the specifics of going into a DPA loan, the provider will usually have their own list. But sometimes if the provider is HUD approved, that's all they request. So you want to kind of look at the provider and look at the program to see what's required.
yeah. I see a few people ask how long that class is. In person, the standard is it's typically about 8 hours of HUD approved educational content. Online, a lot of people may be able to get that done faster because they can work at their own pace. And I'll add to that, don't wait. There's no reason to wait to put your client through that course. They're going to learn a lot. They're going to be a better, more educated client for you, but for having gone through that course, and they're going to also learn more about how to be a successful, responsible home owner long term. When they finish the class, typically those completion certificates are good for a year. So there's just no reason to wait. Get it done up front. And quite frankly, a lot of first time home buyers enjoy the class anyway because they're learning so much about something they don't hear about in school.
Right. And Jose, not all DPA, not all borrowers have to take the class. We do highly suggest it for all the borrowers, but depending on the program, if there's a program for a non-first time home buyer, it might not be required. However, some of the programs do require all borrowers, first time or not first time, to take it. So it does vary, but we do suggest that everybody takes it.
I see a couple questions here from, so we got one realtor in Florida, one in Massachusetts. if you're looking for a list of participating lenders, I mean, you can always go to downpaymentresource.com and do a search, and we'll show you the links to the participating lenders, whatever information the program provider provides about them. But in Florida, are you a member of Stellar from Italiandria? If you're a member of Stellar, log in, look at a listing, find, click the DPR button, and we'll show you. Or go to your MLS dashboard, click on Down Payment Resource, and there are other tools and features we didn't even get into today where you can research programs and their details. Let's see, who was in Massachusetts? Edwin, same thing, MLS PIN. They're a customer of ours. So if you're a member, log in. You can go to your dashboard, look for Down Payment Resource, or you can go to a listing that's eligible for programs if you're looking at a specific property. And we will give you links to the program providers' lending partners, the ones that DPA provider has vetted and approved. Those are the lenders that have chosen to offer these programs and have been reviewed and approved. So those are a couple of ways. And honestly, I would say if you're looking for lender partners, talk to your existing loan officers, the loan officers you work with. Maybe they offer these programs and it just hasn't come up. That's another path to finding a loan officer that does these programs too. I can tell you that a lot of state housing finance agencies, when you're on their website, they will even tell you who the top producers are, sometimes statewide or by region or by company. So that's another way. So anyway, there's 3 or 4 different ways where you can find lenders. So Fern, Mel, we're several minutes past 2 o'clock here. Maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then our contact information is on the screen here, guys. If you need anything afterwards, if we didn't get to your question, then we apologize. Email us at info@downpaymentresource.com. But Fern, Mel, Tamara, Veronica, anything stick out here as a final question or 2 that we need to address?
There was one that I answered, but I wanted to kind of highlight it. Somebody asked if a borrower is with a loan officer currently and that a loan officer doesn't have DPA, can the borrower still get the DPA? And the answer to that is if it's a state housing agency, the majority of them require LOs to be approved. Now, you can go to maybe city programs or county programs where a loan officer doesn't have to be approved, and it would be a different program that offers it. That is an option. However, in my experience, in my many years of experience as a realtor and a lender, I will tell you that if a loan officer does not fully understand how DPA works, if they're not fluent in the DPA language, if they don't understand the programs, you're doing your borrower a disservice, your buyer a disservice by having them go through DPA with somebody that's not experienced. And so you then would have to make a decision whether they really want to keep going DPA or whether they want to maybe find a different lender. But we always want to set our borrowers up for success. So just make sure they're with somebody that is really educated.
There's one here. If I understand it, I'd like to address this. Jose is asking, how can I find out if the DPAs work with specific new communities? If that's a question about new construction developments, Jose, that's a great idea. And I apologize if I misunderstood the question. But if you are saying, how can I find out if down payment assistance programs are available in a newly built development? What a great idea. Go to a builder, say, hey, there are plenty of down payment programs out here. There's a few that would work really well in your development where people can get a new home with down payment assistance. Newly constructed properties are almost universally accepted by down payment assistance programs. There are some that will only allow you to buy an existing home, but if it's in a new development, the builder, the developer is building them to completion and they get their certificate of occupancy, then yeah, you can use a down payment assistance program on those. Maybe not everyone, but most of them. So Jose, I hope that was what you were asking and I answered it appropriately, but okay, and he's saying yes. All right, good job. Yeah, Jose, that's a great idea. For those of you that are still on, which is probably 90% of who we started with, listen to Jose. He's on to something. Go talk to your builders. Let's see what else. I think we've answered most of these in some form or fashion. Again, apologies if we didn't get to your question. We were trying to kind of bundle them together into themes here. I'll end with this. Anicia is asking, how do you get listed as one of the realtors when a person clicks on the down payment form for more info? You can subscribe to Down Payment Connect, and you can be the realtor that is providing that down payment info. I would say that's really the answer. And Anicia, you can go to downpaymentresource.com/DPC. Here's the URL at the bottom of this slide. If you want to subscribe to the paid version, then you can go to the URL here and you can be the realtor. So you won't be listed anywhere. You will actually be the realtor who has the tool, who is giving this down payment assistance information to the consumer. And anything that happens in your Down Payment Connect landing page goes to you and only you. So with that, you don't need to pay if your MLS is listed here. You have Down Payment Resource, the full suite of tools integrated into your MLS, including Down Payment Connect, which has been the lead gen crux of the conversation today. So don't pay for Down Payment Connect if your MLS is listed here. If they're not, here's your option to subscribe. It's super affordable. It's fixed price. Doesn't matter how many consumers go through it, leads you generate from it. It's all yours for a fixed price. We're just trying to help you get the word out and educate more buyers. So thank you for joining. I'll leave it on our contact info here if you have any further questions. We hope you have a great day. Try it out. Get the message out about down payment assistance, and let's drum up some purchase business. Be creative like Jose. Call your builders. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.